Right. Okay, I will make a start. So for those that weren't in a few minutes ago, this webinar is going to be recorded. So if you don't want your face on the recording, then please turn your camera off now. It will be going into an open discussion in about 20 to 30 minutes. So you're welcome to turn your camera back on at that point. So this is what the presentation is going to look like today then. So I'm going to give a very, very brief introduction into what Office Hours is. It was something that was launched at the Blend, but for those that weren't there, I'm just going to explain what we're trying to achieve with Office Hours. We're then going to have a look back at what's been recently added to Garage Hive. We're then going to look at what's being currently worked on by the development team. We're then going to look at what's coming next to Garage Hive. And then, as I said, we're going to get into a Q&A and an open discussion at the end. So we're not in any rush to get off at the end. Please write your questions down. The team is going to be here to answer all questions. And again, this presentation will be recorded. So please turn your camera off if you do not want to be on that recording. So the logic of Office Hours then. So this was created off feedback from the community, and it's something that I've definitely felt that we can improve on the communication from the Garage Hive team and the development team back to the community. So the purpose of Office Hours is to improve that communication. I expect it to be 15 to 20-minute webinar once per month. It's going to be hosted by myself, Dawn, or Rhys. This first one's going to be slightly longer because we're going to look back a little bit further than we would do on a typical Office Hours. Again, we're hoping to improve the communication around, particularly around the decisions that we're making on what to develop. So this was where some of the frustration has been coming in, is people aren't aware of of why we've made some of the development decisions, and that's what we want to get cleared up with this. We want to improve awareness of some of the new features as well. So again, we do have a documentation website for those that don't know that has all of the new features on, but we know that's not looked at as often as it should be. So this is hopefully just going to be a quick 15 to 20-minute way for you guys each month to understand all of the new features. We're then at the end, hopefully going to hear feedback on the new features and what we've recently released. Now, I need to stress this next bit. This is not to discuss new feature requests at the end. For those that weren't at the Blend, we've released a new platform called Garage Hive Ideas. This is where you submit your ideas and they are voted on, and you can talk about the ideas within that platform. The reason why we don't want this to turn into a feature request webinar is because it will just get very tedious for everybody to listen to all of those ideas. We're going to utilize the ideas page and then bring those ideas to development. So please go to the ideas page and submit any development requests. So for you guys to understand the logic in some of the decisions that we make, I want to explain the stakeholder concept that the Garage Hive team have to respect and work to. So there are three primary stakeholders for Garage Hive. There is obviously the users, which are you guys, and the community and your ideas that drive change into the Garage Hive system. That is the most important stakeholder that we have. We then have the Garage Hive management team. So this is more of the team deciding that features must be developed, whether or not the community have asked for them or not. It normally revolves around innovation. So I'll take the Net Promoter Score feature that we developed as an example of something that the Garage Hive team took a gamble on to add to the system, even though it wasn't asked for. Now, sometimes we'll get that wrong, but it's all in the aid of just innovating the product. Now, that could be what you've asked for or what you haven't asked for. Another good example is online authorization. That wasn't an asked for feature. That was something that the Garage Hive team took a chance on as part of innovation, and it got added to the system, and it was well received. But likewise, we have added features that have also failed. And then the final stakeholder, and probably the most underappreciated one, is our support team. Also request development all of the time. Now we receive about 4,000 phone calls a month, roughly, and we get a very good idea of what's failing in the system, what's causing support in the system. So the support team will put requests in for development to improve support. Now, they are undervalued changes because you guys probably don't see them and you don't feel them, but they are happening. And again, that's something that we're planning on explaining to you during these office hours meetings. So moving on to what's been recently added then. So some of these features were announced at the Blend. Some of them weren't announced at the Blend, but I'm just going to go through now what is actually live in the system for you guys to use. So starting at the top then, we've had a partnership with Castrol now for, I believe it's about 4 years. They've been actively supporting the blend, and I know people have been joining their service program that they have quite well, but we never had an integration with them. So even this simple little button here actually took quite a lot of time and quite a lot of work to get over the line. But what you can actually do now from within your document under the lookup, there is a button called Castrol Lookup, and it works like the Autodata oil lookup, except it tells you the specific Castrol product that you should use. So for those of you that do use Castrol, this is a much better way of identifying which oil and the capacities that are required for that vehicle. This was developed through popular demand, so lots of you use PartsLink 24. There is now a button from within your service documents where you can access the catalog. It doesn't work like Autodata does, so it doesn't automatically log you in. You still have to put your login details in, but if they're saved in the browser or you're already logged in, it's going to give you direct access to PartsLink 24 on the relevant vehicle that you've come from Garage Hive to. And then from within PartsLink 24, then you can shop around for parts, you can buy the parts, and you can bring those parts back into Garage Hive. This is a very new feature. We are hoping to improve it. We have had feedback on this feature, and it is something that I'm happy to discuss at the end of this presentation. We have improved the MitraDiva integration. So for those of you that use MitraDiva, you may have a tire click website where you can allow your customers to order tires online. That was launched last year, utilizing the Garage Hive online booking system, but we've gone one step further now. And for those of you that have a MitraDiva account, you can now access the catalog from directly within your Garage Hive system. This will give you access to their stock and access to your stock. We've then also really worked hard on the pricing aspect of this. So you can price up specifically based on manufacturer of brands of tires. And we've also incorporated it into V16 pricing and added quite a cool feature and the ability to round up the price. So a lot of you who sell tires will probably sell to rounded prices because that's how lots of these platforms work. You can now do a rounded price within your Garage Hive platform. We have been a bit more forceful in collecting MOT and service dates. Again, this was feedback from the Garage Hive community. It was actually a Facebook post that prompted this change. So at some point during a work status change or when posting a job sheet, you can now get a pop-up which is going to ask the advisor to fill in the MOT and service due date field. This is just all in the aid of improving that data capture from your front of house team. A few months ago, we released a new way of looking up items. So some people love it, some people hate it, but what we are trying to do is continue to improve it. And one of the things we've now added to it is the ability to add a search description column to this. So this allows you to add a secondary search field to that item. And you can use that however you want to use it, but that is now available to customize into the new item lookup. We've added many more bank statement imports. So for those of you that use Garage Hive Accountancy, we've recently added Monzo Bank as an example. So again, these are features that lots of you won't see that we're working on. They might not apply to you, but it is something that we are continuing to support. And we now have quite a wide range of bank imports available for Garage Hive Accountancy. From a technician's job sheet within the tablet view, from within a checklist from the job sheet. So if a technician is on an inspection, they can now access the vehicle card, engine details, tires, wheels, and brake details. Previously, they had to go back to a job sheet to do this. They can now do this from directly within their version of the checklist. And then a feature that is probably a couple of months old, but definitely one that got missed. So we've actually now got 3 different descriptions for a service package. So the logic being is that if you use online authorization, the description for the service package for online authorization is going to be different from the description you would have on an invoice or the description you would have on online booking. So the idea behind introducing the sales extended description is for you to essentially write a sales script that your customer will read before they authorize the work. The OB extended description is for your online booking description of what the customer's booking. And then finally, the original extended description is to describe what work has been completed, and that will then appear on the invoice. So it might feel complicated, but they all have their own place, and you can add an awful lot of automation if you actually take the time to fill in these various descriptions on your service packages. So now moving on to what is in progress, or what we currently have in testing then. So a big feature at the Blend, and again, this wasn't necessarily asked for en masse. This was asked for by one customer, and then it seemed like actually this could be a bit of a game changer for the industry. So for those of you that use Uber, you'll be aware that every time you've used Uber, it asks you to rate your taxi driver, doesn't it? What you may not be aware of is that they also have to rate you. And if you go into your Uber app, you can actually see your score scored by Uber drivers. Now that changes perhaps the speed at which your job gets picked up by a driver. For example, so if you've got a really bad rating, they're not going to have you as a customer. We wanted to create the same logic in Garage Hive. So uh, as of today, this is now available to everybody. So it's still technically in testing, but it is available for everybody to test. So if you want to have a play of it, then you can do. And it now adds the ability for you to rank each customer after the job. So we've been quite broad in how you can use this. It's up to you how you use this. But when you post a job sheet, you're going to get prompted to score the customer, rank the customer, sorry, and then leave a little quick comment about that customer. And then the next time you see the customer, or they want an estimate, or they make a booking, you're going to be able to see what they were previously ranked. It's quite a controversial feature. The feedback we've had so far is overwhelmingly positive. So I'm quite excited to see how this feature is adopted by the community, and how it's actually used. So it's quite ambiguous how we've built it, because we're expecting you guys to be able to use it how you want to, and then share with the community what your findings are with this feature. But it's quite an exciting feature. We are close to having a QuickBooks API integration. So for those of you that don't know what that means, is previously you had to export your data by CSV and then import the CSV file into QuickBooks. Well, an API removes the requirement for exporting, and it simply sends the data straight from straight from Garage Hive into QuickBooks at the click of a button without having to export anything. It's a big piece of work, but it's something that is close to completion. So for anybody using QuickBooks Online, this is a major update. And then possibly one of our most expensive features that we've ever built, that from your perspective may seem incredibly simple. So this has been asked for probably more than any other feature, and it is the ability to create a recurring standard event. So you could use this to set training each Monday morning. You can set it for break times, however you want to use this feature. There's essentially a wizard where you say, I want this standard event to happen on this day and recur on these days at this date, etc. And then there's also some management tools around managing those recurring events. So it's in beta testing right now. Hopefully by the next office hours, we have live testing available, but it is so complicated that I can't make any promises, but we're nearly there. I promise you. I know it's been a very long time coming, but it's just a very complex piece. So what we also launched at the Blend were improvements to online authorizations. So really excited to announce that you can now embed, not now, but very, very soon, you can embed YouTube videos onto online authorization. So this is the ability to add. So you can do it a few ways, actually. You could create your own sales pitch to the customer. It could be a video of yourself explaining what online authorization is, what the customer can expect, just to try and give it a more personal touch to replace that phone call. Or it can be specific to the car if you want it to be. You can embed it at the top of the online authorization, or you can embed it into the lines of the authorization, so each line can have its own video. For those of you that aren't confident enough to produce your own videos, we also have partnered up with Vehicle Visuals. So for anyone who isn't aware of Vehicle Visuals, it is a library of pre-made videos explaining how things work on a car, for example, like how a timing belt works. So you can embed their videos directly onto the online auth, so a customer can actually understand, why do they need a brake fluid change? Why do they need to change the timing belt? So two really cool features that is going to really improve the customer's experience from online auth. And then finally, again, through popular demand, we are working on the ability for customers to access their previous online authorization. So this is something that has been asked for, and it's something that we are actively working on. And again, hopefully we can bring you news over the next couple of office hour presentations. Now, some additional upcoming features then that we're working on. So for those of you that do use online authorization or online payments, you will have that comments for attention tile, which gets bombarded all the time with certain comments coming through. It's a really important tile to keep on top of. What we're planning on doing is adding some emojis to certain predefined comments. So a really good example is if a customer opens an online authorization, you can get a comment to say this customer's looked at it. But that's not as important as if a customer's authorized it. So the idea is to try and segregate the difference between an authorized online authorization and just a looked at online authorization. So we're planning on adding emojis just to really clear that point up. We're continuing to improve the Euro car parts integration. So we're looking to add a live chat. So Euro car parts, for those that don't know, or those that have used Omnipart, they actually have a team of people who just respond to online chat. And this is, if you're not sure on which brake disc to order, you can quickly get onto online chat and ask, and the response time is within minutes, is what we've been told. And then we're working on a cross-reference feature where you can search by dealer part to cross-reference with a Eurocar parts part as well. Now, this is a great example of what I mentioned earlier about the support team requesting features. So we're currently going to be working. So for those that aren't aware, when you contact support, and if they can't solve the problem and they need access to your system, they have to request access to your system from a senior member of the Garage Hive team. They can't just access it. They have to request access. Now that can come with delays if there is no one available. So what we're looking to do is add a feature set that allows you to approve a Garage Hive team member gaining access to your system. So it can seem long-winded, but this is just all in the aid of making sure that your data is secure. And as the Garage Hive team grows, we don't give staff access to everybody's system if they don't need it. They literally have to request it and it has to be approved. It's a big development piece, but again, it's a really important development piece that you may not previously appreciate or even notice. There is a report within Garage Hive today, which is called Reminded Not Booked. And the logic of that report is to show you which customers have been reminded but haven't booked in. It's quite primitive. It does work, but it is quite primitive. So we're actually looking to improve that report significantly by adding management tools around the report. So you can add, it can be somebody's job to go through this report each day. They can mark it as reviewed with reasons and comments why that customer hasn't actually come back. We're also going to add keeper changes. So for anyone who has used the report and rang their customers who haven't booked in after being reminded, you'll all be familiar with a really common reason is I no longer have the vehicle. So what we're going to do is make sure that if that vehicle has changed owners, they don't appear on that report for very logical reasons. And then the end game, the goal for us is actually to populate a tile on your role center each day that goes through this report and tells you which customers have had a reminder but haven't been booked in. So you can go through that tile, call those customers and get them booked in over the phone, or at least learn why that customer hasn't come back. So again, it's a beast of a project, but it is something that we are going to be doing. It's not going to be ready by the next office hours, but it's something that we have committed to. And it's a significant improvement in the CRM functionality of Garage Hive. It's a feature that personally I'm really looking forward to. And then finally, moving on to, so what we're hoping to do each office hours meeting is pick a feature from the ideas board that the community has suggested to bring on to the development board. So that doesn't mean it's going to be developed immediately. It means it's now in the queue to be developed, and there are processes involved in making sure that it does get developed, but it is a full commitment to it being developed in the relative short future. So the first idea is the diagnostic questionnaire. So this will be very familiar to everybody. Essentially, We don't yet know how it's going to look, because the feature has to go through what we call a refinement, where we get the developers involved and we refine the idea. But essentially, you're going to be able to send a questionnaire to a customer before they arrive to collect additional information about the job that they've booked in for. The most obvious use case for that is a diagnostic job. So if someone books in for a diag and you want to know how long it's been happening for, what the symptoms are, what lights there are, etc., just additional information, then you will be able to do that before the vehicle arrives, and it will all be seamless with your Garage Hive system, and it will appear on the job sheet, etc. So we're committed to doing that. That's the first idea. It was the highest voted idea by quite some way. And this is proof that the concept of the ideas platform is working, because I know that this is going to please a lot of people. So we've been thinking of policies on the ideas platform, and we want to keep it clean. We don't want it to be filled with thousands of ideas that people just get lost in. So the policy for now, and it's still very much in testing, but the policy for now will be that ideas that are 6 months old that haven't been chosen will be archived. So even if they have votes and they have comments, we are saying that if we don't pick it within 6 months, it's going to be archived. That doesn't mean that the idea is not going to be developed. It means that if it was your idea, you need to resubmit the idea. And I do recommend that if it is a good idea, don't just expect people to vote for it. Lobby the idea. Get in the forum and say, I've submitted this new idea on the ideas page. This is the idea. Will you please go and vote for it if you think it's a good idea? So I've said the word idea too many times, it's starting to sound a bit weird, but you get the concept. Don't just put it there and hope for the best. Shout about your idea and let's get it upvoted, and let's get it next onto the development board. So that is the presentation in a nutshell. So now I open it up to questions, open discussion. You have a lot of the Garage Hive team here, so if there are any questions, then please let me know. I'm going to stop the recording now, because this bit won't be published on YouTube, so feel free to speak freely. None of this is now going to be recorded or put onto YouTube. So thank you for your time. If you need to leave, feel free to leave. If you want to stay and have a chat, then the team are here to answer questions.